Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to North Carolina Families United monthly webinar. My name is Heather, and we are excited to announce that we will be running a monthly webinar series, with this being our very first. Our goal is going to be to cover a different topic each month, and that will give us helpful insights as well as lived experience perspectives. Today's webinar is titled Focus Pocus, Tricks and Treats for Thriving with ADHD. We will explore things that will help navigate ADHD and learn some strategies to truly thrive. I want to mention up front that I'm not formally educated in ADHD, but I do have lived experience with it through my partner and my two sons. Their experiences, along with my own research, have given me a personal perspective. That's the reason I chose ADHD as our focus point for this month's webinar. Today's presentation is being recorded and it will be sent out to everyone via email, along with the slide deck and any resources that we share throughout the webinar. I also have my teammates with me today, Cameron and Leah, who will be helping moderate the webinar. We'll be covering a little bit of ADHD's history, the connection it has to mental health, how we can cultivate helpful strategies, what support systems look like, and how to care for ourselves and those we love who have ADHD. While there isn't any two-way audio, please feel free to drop any questions or helpful tips that you might have into the Q&A chat. We'll make sure to address the questions at the end of the presentation during our Q&A time. We would like for everyone to share their name and where you are joining from in the Q&A chat. Today, we will have a guest speaker joining us. We are very excited. Her name is Kara Lipford. She is a licensed clinical social worker. So now I will pass it over to her so she can tell you a little bit more about herself.
Hello, I'm Carol Lipford. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I work in Colorado. I have over 7 years experience with transition age youth and adults, 6 years experience and mentoring with soldiers in the military, so I'm a military veteran. And 5 years experience training therapists and case managers, work with diverse populations. I've worked with all of the populations listed there, and I've also been an adjunct professor at Metropolitan State Community or State University of Denver for the last 2 years. Yeah.
Thank you, Kara. We're so excited to hear what you have for us today. She will be presenting some information a little bit later. So, additionally, much of the information I will be presenting comes from an excellent class I attended by Kristen Mullen at the National Federations for Families Conference last year. Her presentation, titled ADHD Struggle to Strategy, provided so many useful strategies and insights that I'm excited to pass along to you all today. She had some very helpful resources that she shared with us, and I'll be sure to attach those with the recorded presentation via email when we send that out to everyone. Okay, so we're going to dive into a little history. I don't want to bore you all to death with it, but I believe there are some key historical moments that I would like to cover just so we can see how the idea of ADHD has evolved over time. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder, or ADHD, wasn't always called that. In fact, its roots go back centuries when it was considered a moral or behavioral issue. As early as the 1700s, German physician Melchior Adam Weikert described patients as being distractible, impulsive, and having trouble staying focused. He called it distractibility and poor persistence. Fast forward to the early 20th century, Sir George Steele, a British physician, identified what he referred to as a defect of moral control in children. These children, although intelligent, had difficult behaving in ways that matched their abilities. At this time, ADHD was still considered a behavioral issue with no deeper neurological understanding. By the 1980s, ADHD was officially recognized as a neurodevelopmental disorder. Research revealed that individuals with ADHD have brains that develop differently, making it challenging to focus and regulate impulses. In Kristen Mullen's Struggle to Strategy class, she explained that ADHD isn't a disorder of knowing. Individuals with ADHD know that what they should do, but it's more of a disorder of doing that thing. The challenge lies in connecting knowledge to actions. So today, ADHD is better understood, but misunderstandings still exist. So in the context of mental health, ADHD impacts executive functioning. Think of executive functioning as the brain's toolkit for completing your daily tasks. ADHD creates challenges, which makes it difficult to focus, manage time, control our impulses, and regulate emotions. Unfortunately, even today, ADHD can be misunderstood by doctors, teachers, and counselors who might view it as a lack of discipline or motivation. However, ADHD is rooted in brain wiring and not willpower. There is no straightforward way to navigate it. You really just have to uncover what works best for each individual and be open to trying new things. One size does not fit all in this scenario. So, for example, my partner, he will use reminders or alarms very often to keep himself on task. So we tried the same scenario for my teen son, but he will just clear the reminder and find himself distracted and just completely forget about what he was supposed to do. So for us, it has definitely been a lot of trial and error.
So now we want to ask our first question to the crowd. We want to know what brought you to today's webinar. So you'll see the question posted in the Q&A chat, and if you want to just pop in there and let us know why you came to this webinar today.
Right. So now let's explore the connection between ADHD and mental health. ADHD doesn't just affect attention, it also impacts emotions. Anxiety, depression, low self esteem, irritability, guilt, or shame. These emotions often occur alongside ADHD, just to name a few. So it's vital to address mental health when someone is being evaluated or diagnosed and take those aspects into consideration when creating any type of management or treatment plan. Doctors initially thought children with ADHD may have had brain damage, but researchers finally were able to understand that the brain develops 2 to 3 years behind their peers. This delay can make it harder to manage and regulate emotions. Individuals may experience frustration and confusion, which often manifests as anxiety or sadness. ADHD also makes it harder to figure out the best ways to cope or respond effectively. For a lot of individuals, managing rejection, frustration, or social interactions is sometimes challenging. Here are a couple of notable facts about ADHD. So, more than 75% of people with ADHD will experience some other type of mental health issue or psychiatric condition like depression or anxiety. These are just some examples. This makes it challenging for providers to accurately diagnose ADHD often. Misdiagnosis can lead to treating symptoms rather than the underlying cause. And then individuals may feel hopeless because the desired outcomes haven't been achieved. ADHD affects more than a person's focus. It can affect their way of life, happiness, and well being. Another fact is that ADHD can reduce life expectancy by an average of 13 years. So, to put that into perspective, smoking tobacco products can reduce life expectancy by about 6 years on average. So, this highlights how important it is to support mental and physical health in people with ADHD. So, we want to jump into a few practical strategies that we have here. We understand a little bit more about what ADHD is. So, let's see what we can do to help thrive through that. These exercises can be very beneficial and truthfully can be used across the board to help anyone that may be in need of regrounding or refocusing. So let's start out with mindfulness. This practice is going to help with emotional regulation and staying present in the moment when things can seem to be chaotic. Mindfulness exercises can be powerful tool when navigating ADHD symptoms, especially impulsivity. I have the exercises listed on here under certain age groups, but these methods can be used for any age. Okay, so for our elementary and middle school, I have listed here too. You'll see we have belly breathing and sound focusing. So I just want to kind of go over what the belly breathing exercise looks like. You'll have the child or the individual lay on their back, and then they'll choose an object, might be a toy or stuffed animal, something that they can focus on. And as they breathe in deeply, they'll focus on the object rising and falling. And that just creates mindfulness in the moment of their breath, and they're really honed in and in the moment. And another one here is sound focusing. So you can ring a bell or play, a soft sound. The individual would then close their eyes and listen as the sound fades out. And that in the moment creates a concentration and awareness of that sound, and it really refocuses their attention. Okay, here are two other mindfulness exercises that I have. So the five senses exercises is really cool. So you will have the individual choose five things that they can see, four things that they are able to feel or touch, three that they can hear, two things that they can smell, and one thing that they can taste. This practice grounds them by engaging all of their senses, so they're very aware of what's going on around them. And then the next exercise is box breathing. So with box breathing, excuse me, you'll inhale through the nose for 4 counts. You're going to hold your breath for 4 counts, and then you're going to exhale slowly through the mouth for 4 counts. And feel free to change the counts as needed. And now we are going to have our guest speaker, Kara, take us through the box breathing exercise.
All right. So anybody open to participating, go ahead and do so. You can have your eyes open, closed, just sit in a way that feels comfortable for you. And I'm going to just tell you what I'm going to do first, and then we'll go through it. As Heather said, we'll go 4, 4, 4. So we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, pause for 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 4 seconds. And then we'll breathe normally, and then do another iteration of that. Again, if you don't want to join in, that's okay. Just listen to your body and what you want to do. All right, so breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. And we're just gonna breathe normally for a little while. All right, and then we're gonna go back into it. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Just go ahead and breathe normally again. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Kara. My nerves have been a little all over the place, and that breathing exercise really did a number. I feel regrounded. I feel a lot better now. So I really appreciate that. The next strategy that I would recommend for some is setting a routine. It's a very powerful tool. For someone with ADHD, structured routines provide predictability and they can reduce stress and anxiety. Small and consistent routines can create a big impact over time. And then the last strategy that I have for you guys is the Pomodoro method. And in my opinion, it's one of the most useful strategies for individuals who battle with time blindness or time regulation. From personal experience, my partner struggles pretty bad with time blindness and regulation, as well as burnout. And I believe this method would be a big game changer for him. So, what it involves is setting a timer for 25 minutes to focus on a single task. Once that timer goes off, you're going to take a 5-minute break, and then you're going to repeat this process for 4 cycles through. And then at the end of that cycle, you will take a longer break for about 15 to 30 minutes. So, this method will allow you to stay focused without causing you to lose track of time or potentially give you brain fatigue. It will improve time management. It's going to boost your motivation, and it can also help with reducing procrastination.
Okay, so our next question that we want to ask the crowd is, what are your tricks and treats for ADHD? So we'll post the question in the Q&A section if you guys want to pop in there and just let us know if you have any tricks or treats that you use or have seen people with ADHD use.
Awesome. So, support is essential for individuals with ADHD. It's coming from families, friends, or teachers. Having that strong support system makes a significant difference. You need someone that's going to be there that can try to understand what you're going through. And so, Kristen Mullen advises that individuals should build 3 legs of support. So, the first leg of support, that's going to be your professional resources. This is your counselors, your parent peer support or family partners, your therapists, doctors, mentors, those people. And then your second leg, that's going to be the loved ones, your parents, your close relatives, and friends. And then the third leg, that's going to be your tribe. This is going to be the people that have been through it and they get it and they understand it, your support groups, your forums. So definitely finding these 3 legs of support and having those are going to be essential for your individuals with ADHD. And so now we are going to invite Kara back. She's going to give you a little bit of insight from her perspective.
Hello again. All right, so some of the things that I've seen can be helpful in supporting folks that have ADHD as a loved one or just somebody in their life are some of the following things. So for partners, friends, or loved ones, or just a person in your life, uh, first off, do not parent them. This can lead to feelings of resentment and potentially codependence, which often in relationships can just be really hard. I think that it can be, especially if somebody that we care about, like our go-to is to like help as much as we possibly can. Like, I see you struggling with this, let me just do it for you. You know what I mean? If you have the capacity for certain things, do that, but just make sure that you're maintaining the role of that partner, friend, or loved one, or just the caring person in that person's life, versus going into parent mode with them. That can just be a lot on a relationship. I think another is understanding and believing that they are not just being lazy or not trying. Even for us that have ADHD, I have ADHD, my partner has ADHD, we struggle with different things. And I often have to remind myself, like, hey, we struggle with different things. So maybe for them, this is this. For me, it's this, right? And just really reminding yourself, okay, like this is ADHD, this is lack of executive functioning, they're having a hard executive functioning day, whatever it is. And yeah, that can always be helpful. Play to both of your strengths. So maybe you're really good at starting things. Maybe your friend is really good at finishing tasks, right? Maybe your friend is really good at cleaning up other people's houses, but not so good at cleaning up theirs. Okay, swap out. Help them clean their house. You clean, help them clean their house. They help you clean your house. Things like that. So really playing to your strengths, in your relationships, just so that folks are thriving in the ways that they can. Um, and reminding them that therapy, coaching, medication are options if those are things that they're open to. As a therapist, I always am like, yeah, go get therapy, but coaching can be just as effective in certain ways, especially for ADHD. That's literally what they're doing, right? They're coaching for ADHD. So I'm a pretty big advocate for coaching for ADHD. And also just make sure you're really supporting within your capacity. I know that capacities change. Sometimes you have a good day and you have a little bit more, a little bit less. Just make sure you're communicating those things with the people in your lives, and setting those boundaries so that they become used to them. Sometimes if we're going above and beyond for folks, then we kind of pull back a little bit. It can be a little bit of a shock, and it's like, oh, what happened there? Like, why am I not getting the support that I had like last year or whatever? Just communicate your capacity. Say like, hey, I was supporting in those ways. It's not something I can do now. Um, but again, supporting in the ways that you can. Talk to them about their symptoms and how they impact their life so that you can understand what's happening for them. You're getting this training now. You probably know a little bit about ADHD yourself, from past trainings, maybe personal experience, just TV shows, the internet, right? But it doesn't impact everybody the same way. So just make sure that you are really communicating with the people in your life on like, okay, how does this impact you? Like, how can I support you personally? This is how I support other people. This is how I support myself. Just making sure that those are the things that are helpful for them. Um, Ask your community for help. Just like Heather was saying, make sure that you're using those like 3 tiers of support. That's always going to be really helpful so that it's not all on one person and supporting the folks that we have in our life with ADHD. Um, for children, some of the things that I've seen that can be more helpful, are just remembering, again, like Heather said, that there's a 3-year delay, like 2 to 3 year delay in their executive functioning skills. So somebody that's 7 might have, like their executive functioning may show up around the age of like a 4 or 5 year old, 13, 10 or 11, 16, 13 or 14. So just really remember that and support your kids and like understanding like, hey, this I know this is not you being lazy. I know this is not you trying to act up. Um, like what can we do to support here? Just remembering that there's just like, they might just be on a different level than their peers, and that's okay. Also offering and suggesting help on implementing those coping skills like timers, reminders, make sure to move towards them doing these things themselves when they can, but with remembering that executive functioning age, that like little bit of a delay. So this may look like you waking up your kid that has ADHD, but not waking up your kid that doesn't, depending on like if they're struggling with that or not. Waking them up a little bit earlier than your kid that doesn't have ADHD or any other people in the house. Maybe waking them up a little bit later than their peers are being woken up in the morning. Um, okay. Um, so yeah, start waking them up a little bit earlier, have them set their alarms a little bit earlier, thinking about night routines. routines can be really hard for folks with ADHD, so they may need a little bit of assistance. And like getting those things done every night, it's often something that we have to really think about each step. It's not just like, oh, go into routine mode, we're doing it. It's like, okay, now I have to brush my teeth. Okay, now I have to sit in bed, which can just have it's a little bit of bigger impact than for folks that routines just happen automatically. Um, Talk about access to social media. With my stepson, we had a rule that he would put his phone in the living room at night because he knew he was going to be up on his phone. And I was like, good job communicating that with us. He was about 15 at the time, so you may have to talk to the younger ones about and maybe just like implement that rule yourself. But again, it's an age thing and it just depends on the kid. Uh, Also, different types of alarm clocks. There are alarm clocks that you set and go around the room. Like they have wheels on them. They go around the room and you have to go and catch them. There are alarm clocks that have little buzzers that you put under your mattress and will actually shake the bed. So things like that so that you are not the person being depended on, you know, too long for waking them up in the morning because they are going to have to figure out those skills for themselves eventually. But go through the different things, see what it is, and remember that, typically those folks with ADHD, if they're sleeping through their alarm, if they're snoozing, they're really not doing it on purpose. Like, truly, I know how annoyed my partner does this, and I'm like, can we please do something about this? But really, they are not doing it on purpose. They are really having a hard time waking up in the morning, maybe not even realizing their alarm went off. So just being supportive of that. Get them into therapy or coaching, or see if medication is something that they would like to try. Talk to them, see if that's what they want to do. There are other medications for ADHD than stimulants, so if you're worried about putting your kid on a stimulant, there's a lot of other options. So just talk to a professional that can prescribe medications if that's something that your family wants to do. Um, Also, again, therapy coaching. Talk to them about their symptoms and how they impact their life, so that you understand what's happening for them. Again, these things, like Heather was saying, for her partner versus her kid, these symptoms are showing up differently. So making sure that you're supporting or like seeing them through the lens of who they are versus just having ADHD. And also helping them with future thinking skills with immediate rewards. Because if we're like, hey, if you do all this for a week, you get to go to Carowinds this weekend. Okay, that's a week of them delaying gratification, so it's probably not going to happen, right? So it's like after school, I will take you out to ice cream, right? Sometimes that can be enough. Or having their teachers, this is something that we did with my stepson, having their teachers have a sticker board for them. Cool, you like sat through this, you asked questions, you respected when other people were speaking, things like that. You get a sticker automatically within a couple of minutes. So just making sure that you're thinking about like immediate rewards versus like when I was a kid, this helped for me. I get to go to basketball training camp or something like that if I get all A's. I'm just making this up. Um, and but that's a whole year of you getting all A's, right? So for somebody with ADHD, that might not be an immediate enough a reward. Just make sure that you're doing something pretty immediately so that they're like, oh, I did this thing, I get this thing. Um, yeah, I think that those are some of the things that can be really helpful when supporting the folks in our lives with ADHD. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Kara. We appreciate that. So now we're going to move on to another question. We want to ask everybody if they can think of any additional ways to support someone with ADHD. So we'll post that in the Q&A section, and anybody who can think of any additional tips, ways that you can support people around you, let us know. And I'm going to pass it back to Heather, and we're going to dive into open communication and research.
Thank you so much, Leah. And Kara, I appreciate you so much. You were hitting on things for me that I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to use that. Like, there's really so much out there, guys, and you just gotta, inform yourself. And so, with open communication and research, an individual with ADHD can often feel misunderstood or judged, and it's beyond their control. So, creating a safe space for that person to be able to come talk to you is going to be key. You want to discuss the challenges that come with ADHD, which can be particularly hard to talk about. You just want to be that listening ear, and that's going to help foster understanding and empathy. Remember that individuals are experiencing other mental health struggles at the same time as they're trying to navigate through ADHD. So those can definitely present at times. So just have patience, and as an ally, get informed and do your research. Like Kara was sharing, like she was hitting the nail on the head with everything that she was sharing. So it's important to address also that there's that stigma around ADHD, and for many years, ADHD has been misunderstood. So we know now that it's neurological, and so now it's our work to advocate. We have to advocate. Okay. So we're going to change speeds here a little bit, and we're going to go into the self-care and wellness for ADHD. So self-care is not just about your relaxation, your meditation. It's really about recharging and trying to maintain a balance. And I'm going to pass it to Leah. She is going to share something that can be very helpful for some of you, and I think that I actually might start using it myself. All right, Leah. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Heather. So, I was diagnosed with ADHD like 2 or 3 or so years ago. I went through a really bad ADHD burnout, and it was really bad. And I stopped functioning as a human pretty much. And so I attended an IOP class at the hospital. It was pretty cool. And one of the best things that I learned about was the self-care calendar. I know for me, when I get super overwhelmed or it's just too much, I start neglecting and forgetting to do the simple things, the basic tasks that we should do for ourselves every day. Sometimes taking a shower, putting lotion on, getting up, just those basic things. And so having a self-care calendar, it was a way to be like, oh, okay, here's some little things I can implement each day. It doesn't have to be something crazy. And so I wanted to share this with you guys because it really did help me and put things into perspective. And it's kind of an easy way to bring yourself out of that place where you might be. And it's good even if you're not in a bad place, having a self-care calendar, you should always be doing self-care. So with the calendar, you want to make sure to do activities that are at the level of energy that you're feeling. So, sometimes people are depressed or not happy, or maybe they're super energetic and they can move mountains right now. But whatever level you're at, that's the type of activities you want to put on the calendar. You don't want to put something that's not going to be realistic for how you're feeling. You want to be creative. Think of things that you enjoy doing. So you don't want to fill it full of things that you need to do or are required to do. Don't put work on there. These are self-care activities, things that you enjoy doing, and fun things. It doesn't have to take a long time. It can be a 5-minute activity. It could be a 30-second minute or 30-second activity. Whatever you want to put on here, it's yours. Doing more than one per day is fine. Not doing them every day, doing all of them all the days, that's fine too, however you would like. Make sure you redo your calendar each week. You want to switch it up, do different things. Self-care can be like your daily activities if you've been forgetting to do those things. So for me, it was really crucial, like, putting lotion on my whole body. Well, I can get out of the shower and not put lotion on. That's fine. I can survive without lotion. But when you remember to do those things and you're like, oh, okay, let me moisturize my body, you just feel better automatically. And so putting simple things like that, it really can help. It's fine if you don't finish your activities. Maybe you write the whole calendar up and you don't do anything. That's fine. Give yourself grace. It's fine. Try again next week. Maybe try one next week. It's totally your calendar, your pace. You got to be kind to yourself. So I've set a self-care calendar here. We will attach a PDF that has the colorful version and a black and white version, just depending on how you want to print it out. So basically what it is there's 7 days of the week, And then you go through and you put on activities that you may want to try or that you like. And so it really gets you back into things that you enjoy doing, because sometimes you just forget because you're so caught up in all the things that you have to do. You want to try to use your senses, so all your different senses. So, hearing things, touching things, seeing things, tasting, smell. So here's just some simple examples. You can put whatever you want on yours, but I put like deep breathing with essential oils. So I learned when you get essential oils, if you put them in your hand, rub your hands, and then you just take a breath. There's good essential oils that are good, like lavender, it's calming, or lemon or orange, it's really uplifting. So, you could look into something like that. For Monday, I put exercise for 20 minutes. I'm probably not going to do that activity, but, if that's your thing and that's what level you're at, then you should put that on there because it's really good for you. Lotion your entire self. That was a good one for me. It was like eye opening for me. Wednesday, I put read for 15 minutes. I'm not a reader, but a lot of people are readers and they love to read and they can get lost in a book. So maybe that's something that you need to do, to just take a moment for yourself and read for 15 minutes and go into that world. Doing a face mask, baking a cake, or cooking your favorite dish, 5-minute meditation. Meditation is hard if you've never done meditation before. So maybe you need to start with 10 seconds or 30 seconds and work your way up to 5 minutes or however that is. But meditation can be really good. But don't get discouraged. Start with the guided ones that are really short, and then you can move from there, because especially with ADHD, 10 seconds and you're thinking about whatever word triggered a thought. So we got to learn and take our time, but meditation can really be helpful. So we'll make sure to include these, and then we'll have the black and white version if you want to print that on your printer as well. And then you can just copy it and reprint it and fill it out each week. And it really was helpful for me, so I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm going to pass it back to Heather, and we're going to go into exercise.
Thank you, Leah. And you did mention, I mean, it was on your self-care calendar that exercise is important. Not everyone does it. I'm really bad at not exercising, but just it could be something as small as just movement. Get up and walk in place. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But it's one of the best ways to boost your dopamine level is to exercise, get your juices flowing. Any type of physical activity can improve your focus, it can reduce stress, and help you regulate your emotions. Even if it's just a short walk, it'll help you reset your brain and get you refocused. But engage in something that you like, some type of enjoyable activity that you like. It could be yoga, swimming, stand up and dance for 5 minutes. It's just something that's going to promote your mental and emotional well-being. The next one is learn to set boundaries and learn to say no. So, people with ADHD often struggle with saying no and taking on too much, and this can lead them to becoming overwhelmed. Learning to set your healthy boundaries is essential for self-care. And this is obviously going to be for, the adults that struggle with ADHD. And then just pause before you say yes. Give yourself time to like think about it. It's simple to say, hey, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. So this really allows yourself to kind of access your capacity and see what you're able to give, and it doesn't put that pressure on you to give an immediate response. And then the last one is reward your small wins. So, like Leah was mentioning, that sometimes those self care routines that you have, where sometimes people do struggle to take a shower, but if you take a shower or if you put your basket of laundry up that's been sitting in your room all day or for weeks, because that happens, celebrate that win. It may not seem big to other people, but it's so important for you to positively reinforce yourself and what you're doing, and positively reinforcing those around you that are also struggling with ADHD. My 7-year-old, He does not like discipline, but that positive reinforcement, oh my goodness, it works charm. It is just, it's amazing. So, be sure to treat yourself to something when you have that small win. Could be, your favorite snack, you want to watch an episode of your favorite TV show. Just reward yourself after completing that task or, marking something off of your to-do list.
Okay, so now we want to ask the crowd, what self-care advice do you have? So any self-care routines, things you do, wellness advice, whatever you got, let us know. We'll put the question in the chat, and we want you guys to let us know all the things you guys practice. We're also now going to bring Cameron on so that she can share with you a little bit from her perspective.
All right. I hope you guys can hear me well. I am on an AirPod, but yes, I just wanted to come on and say I personally will say I think that I do have ADHD. I've not been diagnosed, probably self-diagnosed like most of us. But personally, for me, I've seen it from a perspective of being a sibling and also caretaker of my sibling. My younger brother has had ADHD his whole life. They caught it early for him, so he's been on medicine since he was about 5 years old. He did discuss with his doctor about 18 um, that he did want to wean himself off of it if he could. That turned into just going cold turkey, um, which is probably not the best recommendation, but I mean, that's what he did and he stuck with it. I will say it's probably been quite a few months now. It's interesting though, because I feel like he's actually done better with work, which sounds crazy, but like getting to work on time and like doing better at work, which is fast paced for him. But then he still struggles with the daily tasks at home that he may need to take care of, or even just going 1,000 miles a minute sometimes. And I have to remind myself as his older sister and somebody who's also had to take the role of being his caretaker that yes, it is his ADHD. It's not him just being a young male that we try to categorize. And so just from that perspective of being a young adult, and like you said, that transition from, if they were a child and parenting them to more supporting them and having to bring yourself back, like, oh my gosh, I'm so annoyed he didn't, take the trash out when I asked him to. Well, he came in the door after an 8-hour workday, and within 5 minutes, he had like 30 different stories to tell me. So I can understand that it would get jumbled there. But that's just my personal lived experience, especially with young people. That transition from them, being a child, whether you're, a caretaker, just a friend or a family member, and then being able to just support them. And then same thing, not enabling them, because there'd be a lot of times where he'd forget to do something and something very important, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do it for him because I don't want to see the consequences. But sometimes you've got to let them understand and see how important those things are and help them, build a plan to get there. You can't just do for them. You got to do with them. So that's just a little bit of the experience that I've had with having a younger sibling with ADHD and somebody that I took care of and lived with me and things like that. So.
Cool. So now we're going to hop into the Q&A section. It looks like we had one question come through. And so I'm going to put us all on camera here. So the question was, are there any holistic or non-medicated options like food or anything else for ADHD?
I can jump on this one.
Yeah, go ahead, Kara.
And also, if you have anything, Heather. Okay. Well, I think it really is based on the individual. Like general things that folks say is that less sugar, more protein are things that can be really helpful. Not like a carb heavy diet. And if it is a carb, then something that like leaves your system more slowly than quickly, like sugar. Um, are things that can help with ADHD for some folks. Really just depends on the person. There are also different vitamins, like always check with your doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm a mental health professional, but some things that can be helpful are different supplements like magnesium, um, can help with like focus a bit. Some other things are
L-theanine.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any other ones? I'm spacing.
Um, not supplemental wise. Well,
Mm.
and again, I'm not a professional of any sense at all, but just from experience, so my 7-year-old, he well, both of my children take the supplement. They both take L-theanine. But, and we saw a big change. They'll take it in the morning before they go to school. We also do the same. We avoid the sugars and carbs in the morning time. Like we would wake up and I would be giving him like toaster strudels and like croissants and stuff, and it like shuts his brain down. So we really switched to like a protein heavy breakfast, like eggs, Greek yogurt, everything that has like a high amount of protein in it. And just with communicating back and forth with his teachers, they've even seen a change in him. Again, that's just from my personal experience. Everybody's body's different, they metabolize things differently. Um, but those have really been helpful for both of my children.
Yeah.
A question just came in. Does fish oil help?
Fish oil can help with depression. It can also help with anxiety in certain cases, and I have heard that it can help with ADHD as well. Again, really just depends on the person. But yeah, it can.
Cool. Okay, so I don't see any other questions in the chat that are actual questions, but I do want to review what some people put, for their ideas and tips and tricks. But if you guys do have any more questions in the crowd, please go ahead and type them in and we'll go over them. So one thing we said, what are your tips and tricks for ADHD? And Sarah mentioned fidgets or structured activities. So those are great ideas. I love those ideas. And the fidgets, they definitely are good. I can tell you right now, while I was talking, I have these under the desk, moving my fingers. So we all
I lost
are
my fidget,
fans
but
of those.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, and then we have under, can you think of any additional ways to support someone with ADHD? We have educate yourself, have empathy, help advocate, and be supportive. Also understand the symptoms and be kind. I think it's really important, like what you guys said, everybody's symptoms are different and they're all dealing with different things. And it might be the same symptom, but presenting itself in a different way. And so
Exactly.
you just have to be really aware of that and understanding.
Exactly.
Okay. And then we have, what self-care and wellness advice do you have? So we have exercise and breathing, and then surround yourself with others that have a unique understanding of you, or join support groups. Try to eat healthy or natural foods. Kara, I know you've been involved in a lot of groups and things like that. Can you speak to like maybe what is a good way to go about finding that type of resource?
yeah, definitely. I think that like a lot of therapists have like groups in mind. Typically, I just look them up, I Google them in the area that a client's in, and I'll send forward those. If you're on Facebook, which I know not everybody is, they have tons and tons of groups for like mental health support on there, especially around like neurodiversity, ADHD, autism, OCD, things like that. So I think those can be pretty great, just seeing different memes and being like, oh, I super relate to that. But there are, I would ask like a mental health professional, or I would just Google it, like ADHD support groups in my area, and see if there are any that you would want to join.
Okay, cool. I just saw another comment come in, and I think it's probably the number one most important out of everything we've talked about today. And that came from Corey. She's our executive director, and she said, ample amount of rest. Because I cannot tell you how non-functioning I will be if I do not get my sleep. Like you will know for sure if I have not slept last night or the night before, because it's very apparent. And so sleep and rest is so important. Sometimes resting doesn't equate to sleep also. So resting can just be low level activities, but not
Mhm.
high functioning. And
Exactly.
so rest is important, but sleep is super important, especially for people who can't sleep well because they have ADHD. So we tend to stay up late at night and we get and go down these rabbit holes. So sleep, sleep, rest, rest. That is a really good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Do you guys see anything else popping up in here? Are there any other questions coming through? I think we've addressed them.
No. But Corey, also she commented on additional ways to support someone.
Okay.
And I think she was talking about for someone, for an individual, for themselves who has ADHD is to give yourself grace.
Yes,
You have to be
definitely.
patient with yourself as well. And I agree with that. Um it's been very big to learn patience as someone who doesn't have ADHD with the ones that I love. And it's been a learning experience. And I'm glad that, we were all here today to give our insights because as we sat in this space, I've learned a lot of things. And yeah, I just plan to apply those things and hopefully everyone that joined today can take something from this, and which leads us to
Yep.
our next question.
Yep. So our last question for you guys is we want to know what is one new thing that you learned today? So we've gone over a lot of tips and tricks and how to support people and exercises you can do. Was there anything new that you learned? We'd love to hear that because we want to know that it was useful to everyone who joined. We hope we could teach you something. So Heather, if you want to go ahead and close us out.
Yes, absolutely. So this will conclude our webinar for the day. We just want to thank everyone that was able to join us for Focus Pocus Tricks and Treats for thriving with ADHD. Please, guys, follow us on all of our social media accounts. Those should be linked whenever we send out the PDF. We also encourage everyone to go visit our website. But we look forward to continuing the conversation with you guys. And again, we thank you all for being here. Kara, we thank you so much.
Thank
You're amazing. And we look forward to having you back maybe for one of our future webinars. Okay.
Yeah.
Check us
Would love
out,
to.
guys. Next month, our newsletter. We should be sending out the topic for what the next webinar will be. Okay. And that'll be next month sometime.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you,
Thanks, all.
everybody. Bye.